0.18%. That is the percent proportion that you and I, as Muslim Americans, make of the total Muslim population around the world. There are 1.9 billion Muslims around the world, and 0.18% live in America. And if you take how many of those are adults, that gives us 0.15%. And if you start to break that down by gender and say, what's the proportion of men and women of the total Muslim population that live in America, it gives us 0.075%. Let that number sink in. Those are the numbers that I've been looking at that cause me to just question the years and years of investment that we've done in areas where our mindset and our heart set have not been focused on the opportunity that we've been afforded living in this country. And I don't mean the opportunity just for our families. I don't mean the opportunity of living in a nice house, driving nice cars, going to great colleges, joining great companies, padding our 401ks. I don't mean that. Those are all also things that we need to plan for, right? I was maxing out my 401k. All of that stuff is important. But the moment that we start to change the mindset to say, how can we make such a small proportion of the total Muslim population, and yet our impact stays within our households? Our impact stays within the community that we're living in. Our impact stays within the country that we live in. That's the piece that I want to change. I want us to start to think bigger as Muslims in America, because the responsibility of being part of that 0.15% doesn't come without strings. The opportunity of living here and the journey that we've taken in life to get to the point that we're at, every single one of us, should prove to us that it's not by accident that you and I are here. It took a lot for our parents, it took a lot for our grandparents, it took a lot for our ancestors to get us to the point where I'm able to now sit in front of a camera and talk to the entire world in 2024. That's not by accident. That is divine plan. And so the question starts to become, that burning feeling that you have in your heart every single night that you go to sleep, despite all of the amazing things that you and I are doing, we still go to sleep feeling like we're not doing enough for the Muslim Ummah. I want you to take that feeling and I want you to translate it into impact. I want you to take that feeling and translate it into a mindset of saying, how do I think bigger and far beyond the four walls of my house? How do we take the opportunity that's been granted to us and do it with Ihsan? This is something I've been shying away from, to be honest, since I started RYSE a couple months ago. I haven't come directly at this problem, but now I am 100% convinced that I want to invest my time in helping Muslims that have that burning sensation in their heart, that tells them there's something more that we can do, that this proportion of Muslim adults living in America, they have an outsized responsibility to have an outsized impact on the world. And I want to help you figure out how to do that. How do we change our mindset? How do we change our heart set to start to identify what it is that we want to stand before Allah and tell Him when He tells us to read our books? What did we do? What does that story look like? What does that narrative look like? What does visualizing that conversation and saying, what did we do that had an outsized impact on this world? Because of the skills that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us, because of the opportunity that was granted to us and afforded to us, what did we do with it? And that's something that I want to help people go down a path of discovering. And that's truly a path of ihsan, of perfecting and beautifying every action that we do. That's aligning and building a foundation of spiritual resilience that then impacts our physicality, that then impacts our intellectual capacity, that then impacts our emotional capacity, which then allows us to be the leaders that we are chosen to be, as this small proportion, 0.075. If you're a man, making up that proportion of the total Muslim Ummah is a massive responsibility to lead. How are you dealing with that? How are you recognizing that? And how are you working to make an impact with that? So I ask you, let's rise together.